Postal Brain Damaged is a boomer shooter that I recently finished playing that originally came out in mid-2022, so I'm a few years late to this. With everything going on at the current moment, it seems to cover older motifs from the pandemic to the rise of Tesla, but it can be funny how those things loop around and hit even harder with Elon participating directly in the White House, to people becoming even more divided and angry with each other in the day-to-day. Postal strangely does a good job of covering what our psyches can be driven to with the noise surrounding us, with a ton of piss, fart, poop, and dick jokes. This game covers the dude, who is the Postal mascot and carries on into each entry of Postal. The only game I've played besides this one is Postal 2, but supposedly according to the lore, there are different dudes, which is like how in Zelda games there's multiple different Links even though they share the same face. The dude falls asleep on his couch, and the entire game is the course of this dream sequence that we have to go through. The hardest enemies we need to face in the real world become our bosses, from a Karen to COVID, and the final boss being the other dude, the shadow side of the dude. The story serves more as a means to an end for the game, at least for me. I'm not super interested in Postal lore, but the lore is here. It seems that this dream sequence is the dude ultimately wrestling with his shadow side, with his shadow taunting him with the dude's desire to watch TV endlessly, stringing him along all the way to Leon Dusk's factory with an ultimate face down. Leon Dusk. We deal with a mixture of the dude's impressions of the outside world, like the Illuminati, weird BDSM creatures, and rednecks, and so many more. Blah blah, boring babbling boob is me. Let's talk on these cool ass weapons the game is centered around. The shovel is the first weapon you get in this, and is a mix of the generic shovel from the Postal games, but modified, turning it into a chainsaw. It has a block mechanic that I never used, and if you hold down the left click you can saw away at enemies. By itself it's really only good for early game, but later on we can get steroids that make the shovel viable again later. Paired with the steroids, you can B-hop and hold left click to massacre enemies or just smack them with the shovel. Pissin can be useful for helping for progression. It is needed for urinals that unlock doors, and can blow up fuse boxes if you do not have explosives on hand. By itself it isn't useful except for making fun of the enemies. It can make them stagger a little bit. Yet combined with the hot sauce, liquid nitrogen, and suspicious moonshine that you can drink, you can put status effects on the enemies that can help out quite a bit if you just fling your piss everywhere. You get a pretty crazy concoction if you drink all three. Let me tell you why. Drinking hot sauce gives your piss the fire ability, and you can ignite enemies, and it's necessary to progress through a certain level in the game. Liquid nitrogen gives your piss the ability to freeze enemies, and once frozen, doing damage to them is amplified and it kills them, and of course it holds them in place to allow you to just shoot them and break them. Suspicious moonshine confuses the enemies when you pee on them and makes them attack the nearest living thing. So to pee on everyone in the group makes them all kind of just go after each other. The piss is kind of to mix things up, and it can be helpful, but they're not my first choice in approaching a group.
Is this gun smarter than me?
I love the pistol. It acts as the Titanfall 2 smart pistol with a TB slapped onto the gun. The primary fire is really good for medium to long distance, so you can use it if you're far away from enemies, and in close distance you can use the alternative fire to lock onto an enemy and charge up to 3 shots that fire and home onto a weak point of the enemies. The pistol is viable for most of the playthrough. I personally think it tapers off in utility towards the end of the game when you have a way better arsenal, but it's a solid starting gun in this game.
Get over here.
This shotgun is the bread and butter of Brain Damaged. It's a single shot like the super shotgun from Doom, and has the hook shot as the alternative fire to it. This is budget Doom Eternal. The hook shot on this gun is integral for movement in this game, and if you get really good with it, you can alternate between a gun you're using with the shotgun just so you can use the hook shot for the movement it provides. The basic combo with it is to hook an enemy, then blast them once you fly into them. You can be pretty creative with the use of it though, and Doom Guy would be proud.
How does it work?
That killer rabbit wouldn't stand a chance against this bad boy. A mix between a rocket launcher and holy hand grenade launcher. This is probably the best weapon out of all the ones you can obtain. You can do rocket jumps, and the holy hand grenades do the most damage. Against the final boss, the grenades were my greatest asset on my arsenal. The explosions do damage to you though, as you would expect, so if you're into rocket jumping, you need to be careful and using it at close range for enemies too. Yeah, you know, it's like any other rocket launcher. It's super satisfying to watch the gib after blowing up an enemy also. This gun is like if Soldier 76 was like Doctor Strange. This gun is cool because with the alt fire, it creates a bubble that freezes time. It's a mechanic that leaves for a lot of leeway with what you can decide to do with the bubbles. You can freeze enemies inside the bubble and fire into it, wait for the bubble to run out, then watch the bullets unfreeze all at once and decimate the enemy. Or you can fire the time bubble on yourself and use it almost like a shield because it stops the bullets and enemies that go into it. You can interweave these ideas and use it as deploying cover while setting up for gibbing multiple enemies at once. Who knew a nail gun could be so tactical? Whoa. According to the codex with this gun, the brain inside the brainfucker gun 69,000 is Nikola Tesla's brain. It works how the BFG from Quake works. The left click uses a laser that follows your cursor directly, and the alternative fire shoots a ball of electricity that damages enemies close to it. On impact, it does a ton of damage. You can also shoot the floating brain to cause it to explode early. Another strong pick that we have here. Brrr, minigun shoot, Cujo-like. Daka daka. Hold left click, do damage. Alternative fire make massive damage to one baddie. Ha ha ha, gun go burr. Do will make enemy go bye bye. It's exactly what you would expect from a Postal game. It's a dildo bow. This shoots dildos. Could you imagine getting shot with a compound bow with a dildo coming at you from being fully drawn back? That shit would probably actually hurt like pretty bad if you got shot by that. This acts as the long distance weapon obviously, and this bow's alternative fire allows you to zoom in. Really good for going into an encounter where you have a drop from a distance, and also to b-hop and feel like a badass for landing shots. Or you feel like a complete idiot when you miss 4 in a row trying to shoot the same enemy. A vacuum for cats. The way this weapon works is you fire 3 shots, the cats stick to wherever you shot them, then the alternative fire sucks the ones that it can reach back to you, dealing more damage on the way than when the cats were sent out. This gun is pretty good if you're on low ammo because the cats on return deal pretty decent damage, and it refills your ammo for the cats that you do end up vacuuming back. The cats shouldn't complain, they got an upgrade. No more use for a shotgun silencer now. Combined with the arsenal is the abilities that you can use for the game. I covered all the piss mechanics and the steroids that enhance the shovel weapon, but I missed a few. You can hit a pipe to gain health, he's a total stoner. You can put on a bullet vest for some armor that dampens the damage that you take to your health. And obviously the best one that I want to talk about is the akimbo ability. You can use the akimbo on all the weapons and hold left click to just unload onto hostiles. Not that kind of load, though. It's really powerful, with my personal favorite at top. The gun goes brrr, but each weapon is completely viable to dual wield if you please. God didn't give us 2 hands for nothing. This game was not developed by Running with Scissors, who owns the IP of Postal, but created the idea and allowed Hyperstrange and Creative Forge Games to have full control of curating the entry from there. If you look at the early development of this game, it looks completely different than the product we ended up receiving as well, with the focus being on more open areas to give that true boomer experience. I can feel my Windows 95 booting up and spraying dust out of it as a prelude to relive that Doom 95 experience. Brain damage gave me a little bit of my own brain damage from playing though, notably on getting stuck through the space level where you need to shoot targets to progress. They can be tucked away or above you, which slows down the flow of progression in combat to a point where I wanted to just set the game down. I don't feel like me saying this comes from a place of having no patience, but it felt nearly unnecessary to have these types of barriers to almost pad time in the campaign when you don't need to do that in the modern day. A lot of us who are into boomer shooters are into mastery, but I don't feel like this game has the depth of mastery that Quake or Doom could have. Yet, the b-hopping in this game is the most intuitive I've ever felt developed before, and I can't end this video without saying that. The way you can hold space and just kind of swing your mouse around makes you feel like you've been playing CS Source since release.
Door stuck!
You should give it a try and experience the absurdity of the dude's dreams. I like the bright and comedic approach for a boomer shooter for change. I hope more companies choose to have irony and pop culture critiques in their fever dreams of video games. Overall, the gameplay flow and the poly art style was an amazing choice, and I hope that running with scissors, as well as Hyper Strange and Creative Forge, all working together to make this happen, find success and peace in their lives. Even if the dude and the other dude never find peace themselves as a result. Thank you.